Yo, yo, and yo. I feel like a broken record Santa Claus player right now. What's going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. And yes, my tone is somewhat indicative of the most recent announcement that we had just got on the official COD Discord. It is with a heavy heart that I just feel like we were hoping and maybe expecting a little bit more. Before we dive into everything, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us some because it helps out a lot. In short, from yesterday, as a quick recap, after the update dropped on the 19th, we ended up seeing a number of surprises. One, there was that loading bug that occurred. There were some challenges and issues that people were having, I believe, with some items in inventory in game. And again, these, if you just think about bugs post-update, right, can happen. This can happen in a number of games too as well. This is not specific just to Call of Dragons. However, the two biggest occurrences that happened yesterday was in relation to migration and kingdom capacities. There was, from what appeared to be a visual bug that was happening, that was making it so once before migration opened, you saw activity statuses for kingdoms, and then after migration opened, there were some pictures floating around where kingdoms were just all crowded in those divisions. And then people were trying to migrate and finding out that either they couldn't migrate or they could migrate, and then the kingdom got full and they couldn't migrate anymore, and it just happened a lot faster than they thought or anticipated from their experience in previous seasons through migration. And then you ended up getting the second announcement that we showed off yesterday, which is that they have essentially lowered the kingdom capacities based on activity designations, where a normal activity status kingdom went to active and an active status kingdom went to crowded, which basically means they just raised the status levels, which therefore, again at face value, until they either come out and say otherwise, the way we perceive it is that normal was where you could have 350 slots, active you would have 200, and crowded we always kind of figured was somewhere around that 75 to 100 range. And so when you go up in activity status levels, you are lowering the overall amount. However, that's not the only change that we saw yesterday. We also saw a change where if you went and you look at a number of kingdoms, you will see that they pretty much all said 300 slots available with the exception of full statuses, which again is another change that we weren't anticipating because that's not the way it has worked for the entirety of the game's inception since they initially announced what those activity status levels are and then the amount of migration slots available per each activity status with the exception of crowded and full, even though full is kind of goes without saying. And then we get this announcement that came out today. And keep in mind, even though Leo, I believe, had posted this, it's not, again, it's not like it's him saying this, right? He's probably just the person who's updating it. Regarding the recent update on migration system, we have become aware that a portion of players are concerned as they are unable to migrate due to the upcoming preview phase on their server. In response to this, servers entering the preview phase will receive a 3-day extension to provide opportunities for players within these servers to migrate during this period. As a result of the extension, the matchmaking announcement will be delayed for 3 days to correspond with the extension. That makes sense. If you're going to push it 3 days, you're probably going to push everything that has not already hit on the timeline for that same amount. The challenge with this announcement is that, yeah, sure, is it nice that we at least get some information? Sure. But when it comes to the biggest pain points / points of interest / the focus and attention of the feedback that was provided yesterday, and even if you go to the suggestion that was put yesterday, I might have to scroll up a little bit. This is 8 a.m. I think today, yeah. So we're going to have to scroll to go back a bit for wherever that big one is. I think it's past here a bit. We'll find it, I'm sure, in a moment. And yeah, I mean, look, it's almost at 1,300 now for that. And I'm sure if we look at other suggestions, right, there was one I saw almost at 500, another one that was 200 plus, I think, from what we were just scrolling through. And you see the support that people are throwing behind suggestions especially for something like this, where we pretty much just summarized, hey, there just needs to be more transparency. There needs to be some more information that's provided, some more details for how kingdom capacities operate, along with providing things to us in a timely manner, preferably with heads-up notice. Not a day or 2 days before, but with as much time as you can. It's a lot easier for people to acclimate to situations that they know will be coming, compared to when you just kind of spring things on them out of nowhere, which is really kind of what these shadow changes have been. And this isn't the first time this has happened, as we discussed yesterday. And so you see an announcement like this, and you just can't help, at least for me, right? I can't help but feel disconnected. I can't help but feel that there is, once again, an identity crisis that's happening. And keep in mind, this is how it looks. This doesn't mean that this is the intention of the COD team, the developers. But when you do not take time to explain your reasoning, your justification, your thought process, we don't know. All we can go off of is what has been said in the past, for the bits and pieces that we're able to sift through. The consistent actions that have been taken and decisions that have been made thus far. A lot of you remember when Asya had made that post that we were trying to find yesterday, but I still need to go back and look for it again, where they basically came out and said, look, we hear the community's feedback and thoughts surrounding transparency, surrounding having things that are just communicated to us in advance, and that they were going to work to hopefully have that never happen again. And the fact, and even with the shadow changes, they talked about being able to communicate those things. They talked about the challenge was that it was like internal things happening between departments. They were going to work on fixing those. Even if they did, and even if all that's true, sometimes actions speak louder than words. And the fact is that has not happened. In fact, quite the opposite. It has continued to happen consistently. And it doesn't mean that it's happening all the time. It doesn't mean that it's happening, in the same level or tier of what you would consider to be a big, medium, or small thing. It's just that it's consistently happening. And that is one of the pain points. That's one of the stressors. That's one of the thresholds, if you will. And I don't know if I want to say threshold. I'll say it's one of the tolerance points, right, for people. And we talked about this yesterday as well, where everyone has their own tolerance level and how much are they going to take on how many kind of bad things or how many things that they don't agree with will they deal with, right, before they just say, okay, I'm done. And I think when you see the level of community outpour for something like this, it's not because people hate the game. It's because people love the game, right? Why would they care to take time out of their day to submit a suggestion, to vote on it, to share their feedback, if they were doing it out of spite because they didn't want to play the game anymore? No, it's quite the opposite. It's because people enjoy playing the game. At least I would like to believe in all cases, or up to all cases. I, for one, fall into that category. I'm not going to sit here and give feedback to a game and make a video talking about the opportunities, talking about what the challenges are, if I don't like playing the game, if I don't like watching the game. And so I hope to at least be transparent in that. This is something that I want them to succeed at. I want them to do better. I want them to live up to the potential that the game still has, along with so much untapped potential that there still is. But when you make consistent decisions like this, to put out these types of announcements that to a community who's reading them based on what happened yesterday, objectively speaking, it is in poor taste. And this is one of the things that I would imagine would just only further infuriate members of the community when there is this much of a disconnect, once again, between what was discussed yesterday versus what was announced today. Now, could they still come out with another announcement that addresses some of those things more specifically? Sure, of course they can. Could they have put a line here at the end that says, in regards to matchmaking capacities, migration details, etc., we will put out a lengthier announcement at a later time or soon. Totally could have said that. And that would have also probably quelled whatever kind of uproar is going to end up happening today because of this announcement. Even if you just look at the reactions to it, right? Mostly, let's just say not positive, is an okay way to say that. And yeah, I just don't know how much, I don't know what more there is to really say at this point. Obviously, I would love to hear from you all. Let me know in the comments. Did this announcement just not hit the mark for you at all? Was it because of some of the reasons I stated? Is it because of other reasons? Or you know what? You have faith in that they're going to come out with another announcement. This is just a starting point, and it's good enough for now until we end up hearing more. Would love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, until next time, I'll catch you later.